Mic check. Mic check. As you see, give me a thumbs up, first of all. Make sure y'all can hear me, because obviously we're not in the typical studio. Don't have my typical stuff. Uh, Everything seems good on my end. I think we're good. Okay. I think we're good. Yeah, we're good. We're good. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. What is going on, everybody? Florida State family, Seminole Nation 863 tribe. Won't be super long video today, but I did want to finally get out a new video for the new year. So happy New Year to everybody in the chat, everybody watching. I hope everybody had a fun and safe New Year's. And like the video says, man, a new year, got a few new players, and are we doing? Will we be the same FSU? That's going to be the question. Obviously, we won't be able to answer that question right now, but I do want to talk about the new guys we got, and you know, I haven't been able to give my take on it, and I want to talk about the three guys that we've got since I've landed here in Florida. So I want to talk about them three guys and my thoughts on them. But obviously, like always, before we get started, hit that like button, share the video, and we're going to hit this roll call, and we're going to get started shortly. So I'm going to wait a little longer so, you know, hit that comment section if you want to make this roll call like always. And then let's get into it, man. We're going to talk about Johnny Wilson. Who else did we get? Greedy. What's his name? Grievance, right? DB, and then another wide receiver we got, Deuce Span. So we're going to talk about all of that, man. But anyway, let's not waste any more time. Like I said, I'm not going to be on here too long, but I did want to get something out for you guys. Owe you guys that much. Want to get something out here. I want to talk about Florida State and these additions we've acquired, and, you know, how do they fit? Good takes, bad takes. I know everybody's got their opinions on whether these are good players, bad players. Should we be wasting scholarships on some of these guys? We're going to talk about all of that today. And let's not waste no more time, guys. Robert Garcia in the building. Seminole 954, Mason Rushing, Priscilla Chestnut, William Green, Todd Pope, Peter Shields, a member of the 863 tribe. Jeff says, hello. Hope everyone had a happy new year. Member of the 863 tribe. Mason Rushing, FSU Tony, 863 tribe. FSU Rose, 863 tribe. Chris Busby, Raymond, EMG, Grind Mode, Dale, Briley, Reality Music, Marcus Lewis, Jeff with the $5 donation says, well, I said it once already and I'll say it again. I like all three receivers. They have size and speed. Shout out to Jeff with that comment.
My name is Jeff.
Stroking the Flame and Tara, member of the 863 tribe, says, sup, Pope, happy new year. Like I said before, man, happy new year to all of you guys. 42 people in the chat. Hit that like button, share this video. If you aren't subscribed for whatever reason, if you're checking me out for the first time, if you just like creeping around the channel and haven't subscribed yet, man, hit that subscribe button. I do have the Iowa-Kentucky game on in the back. I think Iowa is up 17-13. And they playing here in Orlando, which is where I am currently at. Derek Thompson is in the building and Mayan King. Let's do it. So the first guy we landed him while I was on the plane. So when I got off the plane, first thing I saw was Johnny Wilson. 6'6". They say he's 6'6" or 6'7". Hold on a second. There he is. Johnny Wilson, 6'6". They say 6'6", 6'7", one of the two. Either way, big body, 230 pounds. Has transferred out of Arizona State. At the time, when he came out of high school, he was in the class of 2020. He was the nationally ranked 116th player. So he's damn near a top 100 player. And he was the 21st wide receiver in the country. Big target. Then after him, we landed a DB. Trying to get my stuff together, guys. So bear with me here. I want to try to be as accurate as possible. We landed a DB by the name Louisville transfer, Greedy Vance. Louisville transfer, originally out of Louisiana. Was teammates with the infamous, or is infamous the right word? The myth, the legend, Dustin Hill. DB out of Louisville. And then last night, a little New Year's Day present. Deuce Span, originally out of Tampa, Florida, I think, right? Tampa or St. Pete, one of those, that same area. Central Florida guy, Illinois transfer, athlete. Wasn't the highest rated prospect coming out of high school. He was a first-year quarterback at Illinois. Didn't play. They moved him receiver. Only played in, I think, 5 games this past year. So he's not coming in with a lot of production, so to speak. But you're talking about a kid that's 6'4", about 200 pounds. They have him listed at 194, so about 6'4", 200. Let's just talk about all these guys, man. And what do I think about these guys? I want to talk about the receivers first, and then we'll get on Greedy Vance here in a minute. I see Tyler heading in the building, 863 Tribe. Derek Thompson says, "Do you still want to fire Dugans?" Yeah, my energy hasn't changed on Dugans. Look, and I'm gonna talk about these receivers here in a minute. And disclaimer, I like all of these receivers that they signed, to be honest with you. Regardless of the production, and we're gonna speak on the production or lack thereof production, but I'm gonna tell you why I like these guys and why I think they're good fits and what they're necessarily bringing to our wide receiver room. At the end of the day, Ron Dugans' job is to recruit high school wide receivers, and he's failed to do so. So by that measure, yeah, my energy on Ron hasn't changed. My energy has not changed. But let's talk about it, man. Brandon Brazier, Montre, Seminole Firewater. I'll make sure I'm getting everybody. Noel Squadge, Don Harris, Tim. What's going on? I'm not really going to waste time going into each individual guy and necessarily like what they did in college, because I more so want to talk about. I want to address everybody and their feelings on the two players. And again, we're going to talk about the receivers first, and then we're going to talk about Greedy Vance. let's talk about let's get the negative out of the way, which for me isn't a negative, right? And for me personally, it's not a negative, but I do see people talking about, you know, people aren't very some people aren't thrilled about either one of these receivers. You know, when I say people, I'm just speaking in general. I'm speaking of what I see a lot of the fan base sort of talking about, whether it's on social media, you know, your Twitter guy, people on Twitter, people on Facebook groups, even people in my comment section. Um, so the negative, yes, it is true. Neither guy, and you can even add Micah Pittman into this mix. Neither guy has a ton of production in college. None of these guys have had a ton of production in college. I think everybody's situation is different, and I think everybody brings a certain different element to the team, which is a positive. But if you want to sort of nitpick and go, well, we're not taking any bona fide productive players out of the portal. Well, I just got a little bit of a news flash. There are most guys, most of your 1,000-yard receivers aren't really in the portal now, are they? Some of them, sure. A guy like who was the kid out of FIU? Like, if you want to take FIU production and say, "Oh, I want him because he had 1,000 yards receiving in FIU," then that's fine. I would only say we've seen previously on this team, to be exact, guys that had a lot of production elsewhere, and they didn't come in and do anything. I can speak of a few guys. How about Miko Dotson? You want to talk about production? Miko Dotson led the NCAA in interceptions over there at FAU. And he got to Florida State, and he couldn't cover his mouth if he coughed. Couldn't cover nothing. What did all that production mean when he came here? Didn't mean a damn thing, did it? If you want to talk about Marcus Cushney, was there a DN in the where did Cushney play? SWAC or the MEAC, regardless. Was there a DN in the HBCU that had more production in the amount of games that Marcus Cushney had, like 7 sacks in like 5 or 6 games or something like that at his level, which fooled me. I'm not gonna lie. I was very intrigued by getting Marcus Cushney. I was like, well, if he dominated that level, he should be able to come in here and at least give us something. Didn't give us a damn thing, did he? Hits the portal. And now if you look at his offer list, since he's hit the portal for the second time in 2 years, he has exactly an offer from UMass, and I forget the other one. It's not like a lot of big-time schools are lining up to sign a Marcus Cushney, but he had a ton of production. What about another kid? Andrew Parchment. Andrew Parchment, before the COVID year, was a 900-yard receiver, and I think he had about 5 or 7 touchdowns, something like that. I don't have the exact stats up here, but I know he had about 900. He was almost a 1,000-yard receiver at his time in Kansas, had some touchdowns, looked like a productive wide receiver, didn't he? My man came to Florida State, and he was all but atrocious. Right? Are we trying to be kind here? Trying to be a little kind to Parchment a little bit, but again, 900-yard receiver at Kansas, got to Florida State. I don't even think. I mean, I was looking at the stats last night. I didn't quite pay attention to Parchment stats, but I know our leading receiver was Ontario Wilson, and that he was leading the team with like 300 plus yards receiving. So Parchment couldn't even crack 300 yards receiving here. So if we want to be honest, all that college production at other lower institutions and lower conferences, in a lot of ways becomes irrelevant, because Keir Thomas played 4 years at South Carolina, and in 4 years didn't get the amount of sacks that he finished with last year, where he got 6.5 sacks for Florida State last year. He didn't achieve those numbers in 4 years at South Carolina. But by a lot of people's logic, Keir Thomas shouldn't have been a take, because in 4 years he didn't have 6 sacks. I think in 4 years he only got 5 sacks at South Carolina. You can say the same thing about Jermaine. Jermaine's a little different, as he was a rotational piece, but he doubled his production at Florida State as a full-time starter, which he was not at Georgia. So we can kind of go on and on about this production, and people are mad because, and when I say, again, people, I'm speaking in general, a lot of people are happy with the takes. Some people aren't. But when we talk about production, I think we a little bit overrated in the sense of you don't know a kid's situation, how he was being utilized, all of that stuff, man. There's a lot of things that go into these kids and how they are used and what kind of production they end up with. The facts of the matter is, if most of the time these kids are in the portal, these aren't going to be kids that have a ton of production in the portal. Doesn't mean they're not good players. Doesn't mean they just didn't need a different situation, a different opportunity, a different environment to thrive. Again, there's plenty of examples on our own. Forget, our own roster. Look across college football. The guy the running back who should have won the Heisman, who was in the running for the Heisman at Michigan State, he couldn't crack the rotation at Wake Forest. Forget his name off the top of my head, but you guys know exactly who I'm talking about. Right? So we keep crying about, hell, look at Bama's receiver, is it Jameis Williams or Jameis Williamson or something like that? He played at Ohio State. Granted, Ohio State has a lot of good receivers. I think dude had 200 yards at Ohio State. Came to Alabama, he's 1,000 yards receiver. Man, there's a ton of examples. Doesn't mean because you weren't a great guy at your previous position or previous spot, doesn't mean you can't come here and not be great. So that's kind of the negative I want to get away. And for me, it's not even a negative, but it is something that we should address, right? Why didn't they have the production that we wanted them or think they should have had at their previous stops? Well, a lot goes into that, and everybody's situation is different, and we'll see what happens. What I do like about these guys, and I'll throw Pittman in there. I'll start with Pittman just because I've already kind of addressed my thoughts on Pittman and how I feel like if you think Pittman's a number one, I think that's where your disappointment lies. He's not a number one, but that doesn't mean he can't be useful. It doesn't mean he won't be a productive wide receiver. But if you look at Michael Pittman, you look at his time at Oregon, Oregon didn't have a receiver that cracked 600 yards receiving. So the receiving group as a whole over there in Oregon wasn't greatly productive. As a matter of fact, Ontario Wilson had more touchdown catches. Ontario Wilson, with all 380-something of his yards, had more touchdown catches than any Oregon wide receiver. I believe the leading receiver for Oregon had 4 touchdown catches. I know Ontario finished the season with 5. So, and I think the leading receiver only had 500 and something yards receiving. So Pittman's coming from a certain situation where, it didn't look like they were very good in the passing game at Oregon, despite being a more well-rounded team probably than us. But I said it before, I think Pittman is very similar to Ja'Kai Douglas. I think in a nutshell, Micah Pittman is Ja'Kai Douglas with more seasoning, with more time and development under his belt. But I think those two guys have very similar skill sets. But the guys people really want to talk about, okay, Johnny Wilson. Here's why I love this take. Here's why I love both of these takes. I love both of the receivers we got, Deuce Spann and Johnny Wilson. And in a nutshell, man, this is really why. I want you to line up our current receiving group. Take out the transfer guys. Just line up what we have. I want you to line up Kentron Portier and Ontario Wilson. And I'll put a little asterisk by Ontario Wilson because I think he's actually a little bit different than some of these other guys. But line up with Jordan Young, Kentron Portier, Darian Williamson, and take out Malik McClain too, because I think Malik McClain is flat out wide receiver number 1. As long as we develop him properly, I think he's got that type of potential. So I'll take out Malik McClain, but everybody else, I want you to look at these guys, and I want somebody in the chat tell me what separates Jordan Young, Kentron Portier, Darian Williamson, Ontario Wilson, Keyshawn Helton. Just look at those guys and tell me what separates them. want you to look at these guys and tell me what, if anything, stands out about these guys. I'm gonna let that question simmer for a little bit, and I see the chat kind of moving, so I'm gonna address the chat here in a minute. I'm gonna go through the chat and just see what we're talking about. Give me a Power 5 backup over an FCS standout. Appreciate that, man. Man, your picture be killing me every time I see it. I'll be like, wait a minute. But I'm not even gonna get there. Jeff with the $5 says, with all the portal transfers we got so far, with all the portal transfers we got so far, I like them. So of course, we need more pieces. Chris, more to come, I'm sure, in the transfer. More to come, I'm sure, in the transfer portal. Shout out to Jeff with another $5.
My name is Jeff.
Somebody says they're too small. Weight, height, size. They're under 6 feet. Our transfers are bigger. Can't teach size. Not a good thing in that receiver room. They're not being developed. Somebody said size. Speed, size, meaningful snaps between the 3 wide receivers. So when you look at those guys that I named, I'm going to tell you, so we got some decent size. I think Darren Williamson is 6'3". Portier is about 6'3", 6'4", supposed to be. So they have some decent size. But let me put it to you like this. If I took the names off the back of the jerseys and took away the numbers, no one in that wide receiver room would, when you look at them, would strike you as anything when you look at them run, catch, run a route. Somebody said it, man. Where's the speed in that room? There's damn sure no size. Because even the guys that we got that are a little long, they're kind of light in ass. What they did in the portal, which is why I like what they did. I don't know. I've heard people say Johnny Wilson can't catch. I've heard a lot of things. I remember when they signed him, I think it was, I don't know if it was War Chant, man, or one of them guys. They posted a stat that the man had, and it made me laugh. It kind of pissed me off, but it made me laugh. Johnny Wilson has a 90 grade in run blocking. Great. I don't care. Like, that's the best stat you can come with, is that he has a 90 grade in run blocking. Well, whoop-dee-doo. But at the end of the day, what Johnny Wilson does is there's not one person on that roster that looks like Johnny Wilson. There's not one receiver in that receiving room that's 6'6", 230. You can say what you want about him. He don't really have to go out there and catch 80 balls this next upcoming year. You know what Johnny Wilson does? Especially in the red zone, he's a threat. Say what you want about him. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how good he is. It's not like I watched a bunch of Arizona State games. But as a defensive coordinator, if I have to line up against a kid that's 6'6", I have to account for that. Regardless of how good or bad you think that player is, leave 6'6" open if you want to. You're basically giving away free points. Johnny Wilson's a great take. One, he was a great high school player. He has 3 years of eligibility. That's another thing about some of these takes that I like. They didn't go out and sign a guy that was going to be a one-and-done guy. A guy that basically, if you're not getting anything out of him next year, you're not going to get anything out of him, basically like Andrew Parchment. Even if Johnny Wilson or Deuce Spann needs more development time, you can still get, you still have time to do that. At the end of the day, that man is 6'6", 230, whatever, whether he needs to lose some weight to be more of a receiver. Even if you say, let's add some more weight to him, and maybe he's a better tight end than he is a receiver. Regardless, look at the tight end room. We've talked about tight ends a million times on here. He's different than any tight end we've got on the roster. At the end of the day, the man is a different body than anything we have on the roster, point blank, period. He's a threat. He's a weapon. As a defensive coordinator, you have to account for that, or you're giving away free points. You're giving away free yards. You're giving away free first downs. You have to cover. So if you have to cover, if you got to put another guy over the top of a 6'6" guy, well, now you're leaving another guy on one-on-one situations. Can the other guys win their one-on-ones? Regardless of if they can or not, you're in a better situation if, let's say, Johnny's your second receiver. If that means I can leave Malik McClain on a one-on-one island, I'll take my chances there. Hell, that means I get Micah Pittman in one-on-one situations. I'll take my chances there. We've seen Ja'Kai Douglas in one-on-one situations be able to win those. I'll take my chances there. As much as you want to, as much as I've kind of talked about Ontario Wilson, he has flashes of being a damn good college receiver. But problem with Ontario is his consistency. He'll make a great one-handed catch like he did against Florida, and then he'll muff a punt. He'll make a great cut move on a bubble screen or on an in route like he did against Boston College, where he cuts out, Jordan Wilson cleans up the block, and then he scores, and then he'll drop a quick slant that should have been for a first down. That's always been my criticism with Ontario, is his consistency. But Ontario shows flashes enough. If I can get Ontario in one-on-one situations, and a lot of times, especially as the third wide receiver in the slot, I'll take that. Johnny gives you that. Johnny gives you that opportunity to where, as a defensive coordinator, I have to account for 6'6". There's no other way around it. One of the biggest problems FSU faced this last year in terms of the wide receivers is wide receivers couldn't win one-on-one battles. They damn sure wasn't able to catch contested catches. And if I'm a D coordinator, who was I scheming around? There was no receiver that really posed a serious threat that I had to say, I got to scheme up a game plan to stop this guy. Nope. I'll just throw my guys one-on-one and we'll take it. I dare you to beat me. I dare you to beat my DBs one-on-one. That was the issue last year with our receiving corps. Point blank, period. Well, now Johnny is here to change that. Deuce Spann is another one. Not only is he 6'4", 200 pounds, but if you listen to his Illinois teammates and his coaches, now we'll see. It's Illinois. Disclaimer, it is Illinois. What they think is fast may not be what we think is fast. But the word is that the guy's got track speed. The word is that he was the fastest player on that team, and it wasn't even close. I'll take it for what it's worth. Here's what I do know. He's from the state of Florida, so I'll take that all day, any day. You're not going to get much if you try to watch his tape from last year. He only had like 5 catches. And basically they only really put him on like go routes. But what he did, you go watch his high school tape, which is a little different. He played more quarterback in high school. But you didn't see him getting chased down from behind. What Deuce Spann gives you is what, again, there's no other receiver. And we'll see. Deuce Spann's a little bit different because that speed we're going to have to see that speed in action. Meaning when he's lined up against FSU DBs, does he still have that same speed? Illinois is a little different. Let's keep it, it's the Big Ten. They're not necessarily known for their speed up there. So we'll see. But, I feel good about Deuce. And if everything that people are saying about him is true, name me another wide receiver on the roster. Again, we're taking Malik McClain out of this equation. Name me another receiver on the roster currently who you could put over the top, and a team has to account for the deep threat. We don't have one. That's one that we lacked size, and we lacked anybody who you could just line up one-on-one and say, run past the DB and run past the safety. Make them put a safety over the top. That's why these two guys are good gets, because they're bringing different skill sets and different dynamics to a receiving room that, quite frankly, like I said, if you just take the numbers off the jerseys and take the names off the back, you got a bunch of clones there. You got a bunch of generic guys. Like, again, not trying to be mean, but let's be honest. If I took the number off of Kentron Portier and Darian Williamson, they're both about the same height, look like they run the same, you wouldn't know the difference. If I took the number off of Jordan Young and those same guys, you wouldn't know the difference of any of these guys. No one's exactly electric. No one's got blazing speed. No one's crazy athletes. They are doing, in my opinion, with those two takes, they did a great job of addressing glaring skill sets that we need in that room. We need size and speed, and they addressed it. And I'm excited to see where they go with it. Definitely excited to see where they go with it. So I'll read the comments, and then we'll get to Greedy Vance. We'll get to Greedy Vance, and then and then that'll be really all I have. Really, we'll read a couple more comments. We'll call it again. I'm not gonna be on here too long. Let me go up a little bit. Without the transfer portal receivers, there's not much separation in that receiving room. That size isn't producing. Ja'Kai Douglas has juice. Deuce is fast. How are Johnny's hands? Don't know. We'll see. FSU is not looking for a blocking wide receiver. My big take with y'all is on take. Y'all say FSU is cheap, and that's why we can't get nobody. Then the other take y'all say is Dugans can't get nobody here. Well, which one is it? Let's just say that is the case. Everybody else is recruiting, and who FSU? Let's say FSU is cheap. I don't know if I think FSU is cheap in certain areas. I don't know if cheap regarding recruiting is you're able to really quantify that. But okay, I'll just go along with what you're saying here, Derek. I'll go along with it. FSU is cheap. Fine. Didn't stop Atkins from signing all the offensive linemen he signed. See, that's where you got to really think about what you're saying. It'd be one thing if nobody was recruiting on the staff. Then you could look and say, well, wait a minute, what is this? What is the institution? What is the program? What is the university not doing right? Atkins don't have a problem recruiting, period. So money must not be an issue for old offensive linemen, I guess. Offensive linemen don't care to get money, I guess. Is that the case? Because Atkins ain't had a problem. We ain't had a problem signing DBs. Coach Woodson ain't had a problem. What about last year when we signed 5 defensive ends? JPP didn't have a problem. And even this year, even though I'm mad at Odell for whiffing on Tyree West, still signed Daniel Lyons and Bishop Thomas. 2 pretty damn good defensive tackles. He ain't got no issues. Ron didn't sign 1 receiver. So it don't have to be one or the other. Maybe it could be both. But Dugans is not doing what his contemporaries are doing. So how can you blame FSU and not the guy that's responsible for recruiting receivers and coaching them, by the way? So it's my answer to that. To me, it's more of a high test. I can care less stupid grading system. They do by numbers and different colors. Like if you're in green or blue, I can care less about I can care less. It's about eye test for me. Polk Norvell said he likes speed. What the hell is Ren problem out on the field? I mean, I've talked about Ren for seems like 2 years now. He can have all the speed Ren wants. If Ren's not a football player, it's irrelevant. We'll see next year if Ren ever gets to that level. Some Somebody says leave him at wide receiver. A lot better chance for the 50-50 balls. We already have a room full of blocking receivers. We need playmakers. I get what you're saying. Overall, though, I wouldn't want to waste a scholarship in the portal on that skill set. Happy New Year's to you, Shamar. I'm still perplexed why Jakai didn't play more. We were talking about that all year. Why? What was it about Jakai and we didn't get to see him on the team? Thomas is another possible wide receiver, but hey, they might like him at corner, but he's good enough to play receiver. I agree with that. I think Thomas can play either or. We'll see where they eventually line. We'll see where they eventually line him up at. Deuce is fast. He's from the Berg. Deuce's speed is real. He got that Florida speed. He's fast. We need linebackers so bad. What's going on, Zoe? How you doing? I think the wide receiver room is done. Backup QB and linebackers need to be addressed. And when's the last time FSU had a wide receiver with the blazing speed and also had a 1,000-yard receiver? Tamorion Terry before his injury. That would be your answer there. It's really a complete starting 3 receivers. I agree. And then you add Malik McClain to that. Again, I give Ontario Wilson a lot of slack, but Ontario Wilson shows flashes, he just can't be relied on. He just can't be like the one reliable source. But Ontario Wilson is good enough where he can make plays, especially on one-on-one situations. We've seen that. So you add those 3 to Malik McClain, Ontario Wilson. We'll see if Joshua Burrell can ever. He had an injury last year. We'll see how he does in his second year coming back from that injury. I think, like Zoe said, I think the wide receiver room is done. I think you've added 3 drastically different players in terms of skill set to try to round out that room. Seminole 954 says, I think the linebacker from USC is coming. Randy was his coach for 2 years at UCF, and Bartow was working as his high school for a couple of years. That would be a great get. I know you're talking about. That would be a great get. On paper, Jordan Young should be the best athlete on the team. Hasn't translated to the field. Really don't know much about Greedy, but Louisville transfers have worked out for us before. Duffy is supposedly killing it. Supposedly he's been the best quarterback there for 3 days straight. Why do you think the wide receivers like Rashard Green and Kenny Shaw were so good receivers? They weren't tall or fast. Coaching. Well, let's talk. Rashard Green was pretty fast. Now, I mean, you can go watch Rashard Green, and he had plenty of plays where he would take a curl route. I mean, go watch Clemson. He took a curl route and took it like 50, and Clemson couldn't catch him. Rashard Green was fast enough, had great hands, didn't drop balls, and was able to run his routes correctly. Now you can say that was you could say that was coaching. As far as Kenny Shaw had a great senior year. Kenny Shaw was a 5-year wide receiver for Florida State. So if you go watch Kenny Shaw, it's not like Kenny Shaw was dynamic from the jump. Not saying Kenny Shaw had great hands and was a great route runner, but he was not very fast or big. I think Jameis had a lot to do with Kenny Shaw. I mean, Kelvin Benjamin, outside of his 1 year, was nothing. Was very inconsistent, even in his year that he had where he was really good. Kelvin Benjamin's last year for us, national championship year. He was still extremely inconsistent in that year. He dropped a ton. He probably should have had 250 yards against Florida, but he dropped like 5 passes. It's just a matter of some guys of it clicking and some guys it doesn't click. Some guys it is coaching. Some guys it's all on the player and what they do. I will say this about Kenny Shaw and Rashard Green. They both had that mentality to be great. I think the real plans on going with Ward, Toffoli, Douglas, Williams at running back. I hope they do not move Ja'Kai Douglas back to running back. FSU gets better results on the field, and then better players will come. You won't hear that cheap excuse as much anymore. It's a convenient excuse right now. O-line don't get the same money as skill position players. In the pros, yeah, but in college, there's no salary cap on offensive. There's no pay difference between the O-lineman. In college, you're just getting the best guys. This isn't the pros. Texas is paying, or Texas has this thing for their O-linemen, and they're getting more money than any player on the team. somebody in the chat probably knows that exact NIL deal that Texas has going out specifically for O linemen. So again, this isn't NFL. That response doesn't really work. Kentucky and Iowa going at it. They interviewed AJ Duffy. He knows Johnny Wilson, and that's really good. Man, Loden, don't even ask me that question. Don't even ask me that question. I don't have nothing on you. Are we going to see Travis Jay on offense? I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do there. And what makes me feel good about Pittman and Wilson is that they came from high school in California. They're pumping out talent every year. So they're well coached at the position. What's up, Belief Beats? Wasn't Deuce Spann recruited to Illinois as a dual threat QB? Yeah, he was. He was an athlete coming out of high school. They put him as QB, and then eventually they moved him to receiver. Why do we like getting transfers from Louisville? Okay, let's talk about Greedy Vance here. Texas has an NIL deal, or FTX has an NIL deal with the softball team. Rashard Green was 118 in class. Kenny Shaw was 100. Those were flat out better players. It's not even close. He said Norvell will have certain packages for him. What up, great Walt Bell? And FSU recruited Deuce too. So I'll be honest with you, I don't have a lot on Greedy Vance. Talking to Louisville guys, they seem to like him. They seem to think he was a good player. He is small, but Kevin Knowles was small. Here's my thing on Greedy and why I'm not upset. And I saw some people that they were like, this one's a waste of a scholarship, and they don't feel like FSU should have took a Greedy Vance, even if he is a somewhat talented or good at coverage. He's small. We've got a ton of DBs. Well, here's a news flash on this DB thing. There's going to be attrition there. I don't know who. I don't know when. But I am telling you, I think Brandon Gant is going to give linebacker a chance in the spring. I think as of right now, I think that's the move. Brandon Gant's going to give the linebacker a chance in the spring. I think if it doesn't work out, I think you can see Brandon Gant hit the transfer portal. If he can't crack that linebacker rotation, I think he's in the portal. So that's one DB. I really think Ronaldo Green probably hits the portal because I don't see where Ronaldo Green fits. Unless he comes in again, you're going to see a lot more of this stuff is going to start opening up after spring when guys realize they're not going to crack the too deep on the depth chart. I don't know where Ronaldo Green fits. Maybe someone else can tell me. So there's that. Demore Tate is still on. He's still a guy that we have high hopes for, but now he's going into his third year at Florida State. It's make or break. Again, if we come back, if we leave the spring and Demore Tate, let me put it like this. If FSU goes into, what's up, Boxing Monsters? Happy New Year to you. If FSU leaves spring and Jarvis Brownlee is still a starting corner for you, I think you failed in that secondary. I wholeheartedly believe that, and I hate to really say it like that about a guy that I actually like the way he plays. I like the way Jarvis Brownlee plays. I like the intensity that he plays with. But he cannot be starting opposite of Omarion Cooper, who I think has his spot. I won't say lockdown, but you're going to have to come in there and be really hard and play really hard and play really well to get Omarion Cooper out of that spot. Brownlee leaves a ton to be desired at that other spot. That's why Greedy, I think, is a take. Who's to say Kevin Knowles can't take Brownlee's spot? And then you slide in Greedy in the slide. I would like to see I would like to see the two deep at our nickel be Jarvis Brownlee and Kevin Knowles. At the end of the day, regardless of whether Greedy is in the rotation or not, there's going to be attrition in the backfield, the secondary, should I say. So you still got to replace those guys. You still have to have guys you can practice against, guys that are going to run the scout team. You still have to have all of those things. So to just say that's a waste of a scholarship, I think, is a little bit misinformed. You still have to replace the guys you're going to lose. And in my opinion, you are going to lose a few guys. You're going to lose a few guys in that secondary when it's all said and done. So in my opinion, Greedy isn't a bad take. Now, could you have waited longer to see who else entered the portal at that DB position? And maybe, but they saw something in Greedy and Greedy Vance, right? That's his name, or Vance Greedy, whatever. They saw something in him. They scouted him and feel like he's a take for them. I would say, all in all, for the most part, FSU, Mike Norvell and company, who ain't been perfect by any stretch of the imagination, they've done a decent job of scouting the transfer portal. They have not taken a lot of dead weight in the transfer portal. They have not taken. Man, y'all shooters, I need y'all to. If you got a wrench, I need y'all to start blocking these damn. These damn. What this spam crap. The spam junk. But that made me lose my train of thought here. Somebody help me. What was I saying? I don't even remember what I was saying. By my count, we're at 85 right now, including recruits that signed and transfers counted in. There's going to be a ton more attrition to come, Firewater. And guess what? There's going to be a ton more guys they add in the portal. I don't think they're done. I don't think they're done by a long shot. I would like to see them address definitely linebacker, right? I think linebacker. I think linebacker has to be the next focal point. I think they did a good job receiver. Get me that UCF kid who's originally from Miami. So get me that linebacker. And I wouldn't mind another defensive tackle if you can find the right one. I know they're still waiting on to see what Jared Verse decides. We'll see. I think Jared Verse would be a nice get, but I don't think he's a make or break type get. That's always been me. Somehow they have to find a way to keep Brownlee close to the line of scrimmage, and that's why I say he should kind of be in that 2 deep rotation with Knowles at nickel, and I think he would flourish there. I think that's what I was talking about. I think if we go into next year with Brownlee still at starting corner, I think they failed. I think they failed there. So we got to find something else there, whether that's a true freshman and Thomas, or I heard somewhere somebody said that Coach Woodson said that they were going to play Sam McCall at corner. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, but again, you got to do something besides Jarvis Brownlee right there. How are we at safety? I think we're pretty deep at safety, which is why I don't think Ronaldo Green has a spot unless he can be better than Jarvis Brownlee. But you got Hunter Washington still that I haven't talked about. He's going to be looking to take Jarvis Brownlee's spot. Demore, again, that's why I say I'm talking about Demore Tate. I'm like, okay, Demore Tate can get there. I think Kentucky just sealed the game 20-17. Demore Tate, like, if you leave spring and Demore Tate can't beat out Jarvis Brownlee, he probably should hit the transfer portal at that point. But as far as safety goes, to your question, Jen, I think we're deep there. If Jamie comes back, and even if Jamie comes back, definitely, I think your two safeties will be the same guys that ended the year, Dent and Robinson. Even if Jamie doesn't come back, I think you're still probably going to have Dent and Sidney Williams, Shaheem Brown's in the mix. We know Sam. I think Sam McCall is a safety, so it would not shock me if he could win that job. And Azariah Thomas is another safety, corner, or receiver. That kid could probably play anywhere he wants to on the field. So I think safety is really set, in my opinion. Gant at linebacker does not help FSU. I mean, we'll see. I would if you told me I would have to see how Dent make the transition, but Lundy at linebacker doesn't help FSU. So I would take Gant and try it out personally. That's just me. Why did y'all block mine? Y'all block mine, King? I see somebody put him in timeout. Here, I'm gonna bring Mine King back. I brought him back. Gant and linebacker is a boomer. Yeah, definitely. At this point for Gant, Gant's not gonna contribute at safety, and I'm gonna finish the comment here. But he's not gonna be a safety. We've already established he can't cover well enough with the way FSU likes to use their safeties. Gant doesn't work. So now linebacker, this is his last choice. This is his last chance to try to make some noise. You know, I mean, like Hampton Nasruddin, he was a safety, moved to the linebacker in the pros. I think Gant's going to try something a little similar. And again, FSU can't afford to have Lundy there again next year either. So if you're telling me that they can put 10 pounds on Gant and he can play linebacker at 215, 220 and be more mobile, more sideline to sideline than DJ Lundy, we know Gant's a big hitter. I'll take my chances. But like Simo Firewater, he hit his nail on the head pretty much. He's like either he becomes that starter or he's forced to transfer. That's exactly why I say Gant. We're going to find out after the spring if Gant is on this roster or not. Yeah, I saw that. Ohio State came all the way back. This staff makes linebacker recruiting seem impossible. That's why Coach Marv is gone. Wish him all the best at Virginia Tech. Randy got to get on his job. Randy's got to bring in that guy from UCF. Give me a DN over a D tackle in the portal. Don't sleep on George Wilson and Patrick Payton. Oh, I'm not sleeping on Patrick Payton by a long shot. George Wilson, I want to see him. I haven't seen him lately, but I've seen Patrick Payton. And he's all of 230, 240 right now. Seminole, I don't know if you saw my last live stream, but my bold prediction is I think Patrick Payton is going to be a starter by the end of the year on that defensive end. Brownlee should have been number 2 quarterback if he played with a number 1. He would probably play better. I don't think Brownlee's a 1 or a 2 though. I don't think he's a field or a boundary. He might be more of a boundary guy. I think Brownlee would excel at nickel though. I talked about him. Again, again, honestly, I don't have a lot of. I didn't watch him. I couldn't find a lot of tape on him. Louisville fans and people seem to like him. They didn't necessarily they didn't necessarily want him to go. He does seem undersized, but hell, Asante Samuel was undersized. I want to see how he plays because Kevin Knowles came in to Florida State undersized. Hell, he's probably still undersized, and nobody played with bigger heart. Nobody was a more sure tackler in open space than a Kevin Knowles. So I wouldn't completely dismiss a Greedy Vance right now. Missing on the UCF linebacker. I agree with that. I think if Randy can't land this linebacker from UCF, Ohio State's playing Utah. Who's Notre Dame? Oh, Notre Dame was playing Oklahoma State. My bad. That was my bad. But back to Tyler's point, I agree with you. If he can't line the linebacker out of UCF, they might have made the wrong move with Randy. And don't it always be wrong, Firewater? Do y'all remember I think it was Willie Taggart's last year. They were reporting that Keyshawn Helton was up 220 pounds. I know y'all remember those reports. At 5'9", I know y'all remember them reporting Keyshawn Helton was up to 220 pounds. Keyshawn Helton had never been 200 nothing. What's up, T2Y? I just saw you came in here today. How you doing? Happy New Year's, man. I agree. If your name is Greedy, I need some picks. Hey, T2Y is a responsible wrench user. He deserves it. And like he said, he supports me. Been one of my first supporters. So T2Y gets that wrench. But yeah, man, they were reporting Keyshawn Helton was up to 220 pounds. Those preseason weight gain numbers be a bunch of baloney. They be a bunch of baloney. So we'll see, man. We'll see. What's up, Damian Adams? And that's true too. Boxing Monster is correct. Absolutely correct. Me and T2 have had conversations, and I don't want to say exactly what we talked about, but deep down, he bleeds garnet and gold. He just does that stuff for Miami for the likes. Damn, I wasn't supposed to say that. My bad, T2Y. My bad. Bethune can instantly improve our worst defense. Yeah, the linebacker from UCF. Yep. Him and Deloach. Come on, man. Him and Deloach, that's Terrence Smith. That's hell, I'd say might even be better than the Terrence Smith Reggie Northup combo, because I was never too high on Reggie. Speaking of Reggie, if you guys don't know this man's MMA, he knocks out guys cold. So I shouldn't say anything bad about Reggie Northup, because he will knock you out cold. Am I the only one who thinks Duffy could challenge Travis? I don't want to get too hype off of I don't want to get too hype out of an all-star game and some practices, but from all accounts, man, Duffy is really turning a lot of heads. But Reggie been knocking dudes out. If you guys haven't checked that out, I think it might be only a matter of time before the UCF gives him a call, because that level that he's fighting at right now, those fights don't go 30 seconds, bro. Those fights don't go 30 seconds. They completely knock Buddy out. He be knocking guys out cold. When will we talk about player development? How come we don't mention the shortcomings of the strength and conditioning program? Well, year 3 is where you're going to find whether there's real shortcomings or not. Like I've said this from the jump. People have this misconception of weight and development and all of this stuff. You don't weight gain and you don't properly develop a player in a year. It does not happen. This is Mike Norvell's 3rd year. So we're going to see this year. This is why this is why this 3rd year is extremely critical for everything with Mike. Mike cannot come into year 3 with a quarterback carousel. And we do need to see development and all of that stuff in year 3, because year 3 is where a lot of those things start to pay off. But year 1, you're not going to see it. Year 2, some players may develop a little faster than others. But year 3 is where the tire should meet the road. I don't want to see him at all. I don't want to King Mac. I don't want to see Duffy on the field at all. Frankly, I want to see. Look, I always say this, I want Mike Norvell to do good because I want Florida State to do good. And if Duffy gives you the best chance to win, then I guess in the ideal situation, Duffy does not take a snap next year. Straight film study, straight every passing development, all of that stuff. And then in his redshirt freshman year, he should be full on go to challenge for that job. Again, man, I'm not going to put out what our conversation was, T2I, but you know and I know what we talked about. That's fair. strength and conditioning has been an issue. We need a staff like Iowa or something. They turn small guys into completely different players. Yeah, but you don't even know who those small guys are until they're what? Till they're a redshirt senior, till they're a fifth-year senior, a fourth-year junior. Those guys get to sit and do that. That's what I've been saying for this whole time is there's certain guys I don't want to see. We've been forced to play Darius Washingtons and the Robert Scotts because especially on the O-line, it was so bad that we were just forced to play talent. A guy like Donta Lucas probably should have not played for his first 2 years. So when you start talking about the Iowas and the Wisconsins, they recruit no-name kids who no one asks to see. So they're allowed to sit to, and because they do that, and it's a cycle, and a lot of those stats, especially Iowa, LaFrance or whatever his name is, he's been there for 10 plus years. There's no turnover there. They're allowed to sit guys and just stack guys up and develop guys, and there's never a rush to play them. We want to rush everybody out there because we're just desperate to get back where we think we need to be. Places like these Iowas and these Wisconsins, there's no expectations for these programs. If they're great, cool. If they're not, no one cares because they don't talk about them. Panthers fan says, hope we fire Kiffin. I feel like this is Terrence's burner account right here. But he says, I hope we hire Kiffin or Braum. I want a Ronda, but I hear you. I'm kind of tired of the offensive. I want to go defense for once. The only problem is they're reporting that a couple playoff teams are getting in touch with the cut linebacker. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't remember too many true freshmen starting quarterback, maybe redshirt freshmen. True freshmen do not see the field. They are redshirted. Jameson, as good as he was, did not play as a true freshman. To this day, though, I think he should have. And I'm probably in a minority there, but I promise you, in 2012, if we played Jameis and not EJ Manuel, I think we would have been back-to-back champions. I thought it's ironic. Dewspan's father got drafted from JSU to the Jaguars in the 7th round. Now FSU has a son. Let's hope Mike Norvell's staff can develop him into something great. How would you use our remaining scholarship? Well, I know we have way more than 5 left, but if we did have 5 left, good question. With the 5 we have left, I would try to get. I would go try to get an offensive tackle who could play immediately. Then I'll be probably at least 2 linebackers. So that's 3 scholarships already. If I can get 3 linebackers, I need a legit offensive tackle. And this way I can move Robert Scott to the right, probably sit Darius Washington down and try to – he needs more strength and conditioning if we want to talk about Darius Washington. Definitely with Caden Lyles, we definitely get to sit Maurice Smith down, which is a good thing. And then the last 2, that's tough for me. I want to say quarterback, but I also feel like I also feel like it wouldn't hurt. Like, bro, when you watch these playoff games, and this is the level we aspire to be at, and you watch these playoff games, Cincinnati and Michigan, they couldn't compete in the trenches. Cincinnati and Michigan, and I actually thought Cincinnati played a solid game. They just couldn't compete in the trenches. I would say to address the trenches, whether that's D-end or D-tackle. And I know people feel like we don't need a D-tackle. Some of us, and I've kind of been on the record where it's like I don't know, should we waste something on a DN or should we use the guys that we got and get this development thing and see what we're developing? But I probably would address the trenches even more so. My father told me you can tell how many games you're going to lose by the number of freshmen you play. Bingo. And FSU's been the youngest team the last 2 years. Or I know 2 years ago we were the youngest team in the country. Last year we were one of the 3 or 4 youngest teams in the country. So, bingo. I hear Purdy might come back. Well, I don't know. Purdy's not getting all them offers either, is he? Jameis was redshirted to learn the offense behind EJ plus strength and conditioning. I think Jameis did need that strength and conditioning that you're talking about, King. I just feel like, man, if Jameis plays in 2012, again, I honestly feel like we could have been back to back. I say this all the time. That 2012 team might be the most talented team that didn't win the national championship. I mean, that Miami team that lost to Ohio State has a case there. But man, that 2012 team was arguably more talent top to bottom than the FSU, than the 2013 team. That 2012 team had your Bookends and Carradine and Warner. Still had LaMarcus Joyner. They had Xavier Rhodes on the outside, legit first round corner. I mean, that 2012 team, man, was just as talented, if not more so, than 2013. It just doesn't get talked about because they ended up losing, 2 games? I think Washington did play better. He's also smaller, though. I agree. He's not Jameis. It's January 1st, 2023, introducing your new head coach. Hell, I wouldn't be mad at that, Firewater. I'm not even going to lie to you. I wouldn't be mad at that. I'm very interested to see how that offense looks under Atkins, to be honest with you. If the guys aren't developing properly, we might need one. The more D tackles, the better. I get a solid QB with them 5. I'd get a solid QB. Purdy came back. No, he hasn't came back, but people are saying Purdy hasn't found a home yet. He might come back. We're going to find out. I tend to think so. But we're going to find out. He's supposed to commit soon. A lot of people think Tennessee is leaning for him, though. D. Thompson, what's going on? Happy New Year. Looking forward to what 2022 brings. Norvell has to produce this season. Shout out to D. Thompson, and I wholeheartedly agree. Norvell has to produce this season. No excuses at all.
Yeah, get more money. Yeah, get more money. Yeah.
I hope they don't, but they might. I wouldn't take Purdy back because we could have used it. We probably, Russ. I'm honest. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, though. I think we need the numbers, so it's hard to say you wouldn't take a kid back, especially when you wasted 2 years of developing them. But again, the way he quit mid-season, when he could have been the difference in the NC State game, and he quit prematurely, and you saw how that played out, probably wouldn't take Purdy back either. But at the end of the day, Mike can't be too picky. Mike got to win some games or get the hell on. Jeff Levy. Where's he coach at? I'll be honest with you, I don't know. Enlighten me. I've been so stuck on the Aranda bandwagon that's just where my mind has been at. As an O-line coach, I would think Atkins has a run-first offense. He's been an offensive coordinator before, and he was about a 50-50 play caller. So they ran and passed the ball the same. So we'll see. He signed a 1-year extension, so that 1-year extension ain't nothing that's going to keep him here for the foreseeable future, right? If it really was that deal, they would have signed a big extension. UConn offer Purdy, hell, that might be where he gonna suck there. They'll definitely come calling. Okay. Probably not, to be honest with you, Firewater. Right. If you won the Duke's Mayo Bowl, fuck, man, no. Hell no. Kiss my ass. Agreed, Jared. If it was really where they believed in him, that 1 year extension would have been a 5-year extension. The 1 year extension doesn't mean anything. Semantics doesn't mean anything. Personally, I still don't quite understand why they did it. I heard a lot of people giving their reasons for it, but don't mean nothing to me. Levy was OC at Ole Miss. Now he's at Oklahoma. Again, I'm tired of the offensive guys. Give me a defensive coordinator. I want to change the pace around here. If Mike don't work out, let's focus on defense and build it from there. That's just me, though. You're not putting no mayonnaise on me. I'm sorry. That's just it's just not happening. It ain't happening. Just thinking about it makes me sick. It's not happening. But that's really all I got today, guys. Said I wasn't going to go too long, and we did about an hour, 15 minutes. And, I'm over here in Orlando, kicking it. Again, so I don't really have much else. I kind of just wanted to address these guys that we've got in the portal. I think we've got some good players, definitely those wide receivers. And I'm not sleeping on Greedy Vance. I think he could contribute, especially with the attrition that I think is going to come in that DB room. But yeah, I'm excited to watch these receivers, and don't get too down about this portal stuff, man. This portal stuff. Let me tell you something. Especially after this after the season's over, there's going to be a ton of guys hitting the portal, man. There's going to be a ton of guys hitting that portal. So the portal, as I always say, is really just getting started. It's really just getting started. If Norvell was offered a bigger job right now with more money, he would leave. No reason to be loyal. Be as loyal as the results. There you go. We need our D-line to produce again like they did this year, or we are in trouble. I think it's a give and take thing. I think if the secondary improves, I don't necessarily think your D-line needs to be as effective as it was last year. If your linebackers improve, same thing. Hold on. How are we letting the Tennessee Vols outclass us with production on the field? Tennessee has been down longer than Florida State. I mean, stuff goes in rotations. Tennessee is, until they win something, okay, they won a few games this year. Congratulations, William, what says, what's up, Polk? Did you just see Mark Stoops? They beat a good – yeah, I was watching it here. Solid game. What's up with you? What do we consider safe? I think if he wins, definitely if he wins 8+, I think there won't be any conversations of a hot seat. 7's going to be a little iffy, and I would say anything less than 7 is like, I don't know if you can keep him. We're going to talk about that season, but if we just address that, I don't understand this whole If we want to be pessimistic, that's fine. I'm not mad at you for being that way. When you look at that season next year, you play Georgia Tech, Louisiana. Unless you think Louisiana is going to beat us and Georgia Tech is going to give us a run. Do we expect Wake Forest to be the same? What about NC State? And they're losing their quarterback and a lot of their good players on defense. They are going to be the same. We already beat Boston College, but we think like we honestly we were probably a 6-6 team this year. I think we field a better team next year. I don't see 6-6. Hell, I don't think LSU is a marked loss. I mean, Kelly's lost a lot of guys recruiting wise and in the portal on that team, and I still don't believe in that fit there. But we'll see. I mean, everybody's allowed to feel what they want, and maybe I'm just a little bit more optimistic than others. That Georgia Tech, you got to show me where they keep it close, no squad. I mean, again, you're allowed to feel what you want, but they lost their quarter. They still got Jeff Sims. They lost their best player in Jahmyr Gibbs. They had a ton of transfers out of that program. I mean, that schedule's not hard. And I guess if we just want to be, whatever we want to be about it, then that's fine. Now, I do agree with that. I said that's been the biggest indictment on Mike Norvell since he's been here is his lack of his whole quarterback. The way he's handled the quarterbacks has been the biggest indictment on Mike Norvell. And if for any reason we go into next fall or this upcoming fall and we're questioning who the quarterback is, Mike's gonna have a lot of I don't know. I don't know how he figures that one out, man. We haven't beaten Georgia Tech in the regular season since 2020 to 2003. Sorry. How many times have we played them though? He's coming back. Okay. Excuse me. I call the whole quarterback situation a debacle. James Blackman, all of that. Tate Rodemaker, all that's a debacle. Again, we should have listened to Jimbo and gave him everything he wanted for us to remain among the elite. Bottom line, like he said, it's an arms war in college football. Well, Jimbo's gone, so there's nothing we can do about that. If they do not replace Jermaine and Kier, it will be at best a 6-6. Well, we'll see. How is Norvell so bad at QB management? Feels like deja vu with the last staff before him. Fromm or Kiffin should have been hired instead of Mike. I hope we get the next hire right. A 6-6 is unsettled. I don't know what reasonable expectation is. Not good enough in year 3. 8 wins. I think it's a magic number. 7. I think it depends on who you lose and who you beat. But if he doesn't make a bowl, he's fired for sure. So we played him 4 times since 2003. Okay. You can't, in my opinion. You can't. You'll have a hard time showing me 6 losses on that schedule. You said 5. I mean, I can't really see 6. But then again, we couldn't see Jacksonville State, right? So I hear people. I hear you. So, yeah, man, we're going to cut it off here, man. Appreciate everybody who showed up. Again, I just want to get out the first video for the new year, man. So I appreciate y'all. And Mike won't have 10 years. This isn't the 70s. Mike's not going to get 10 years. But, yeah. Appreciate y'all who showed up, man. I'm going to go ahead and call it quits here. As always, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new, just catching me for the first time. Subscribe to the channel. Share the videos, man. Share the channel. Let the people out there know what we doing over here. I was actually scanning through YouTube the other day, and I've seen some more FSU channels starting to pop up. Other content creators, other Florida State fans are starting to put their face on YouTube, and and they're starting to talk Florida State and give their takes. And I think diversity is always a good thing, man. I think, you know, in no way, shape, form, right, am I the gospel. You feel me? So if for whatever reason I throw you off with some of my takes, man, there's a lot of other guys out there, man, that are. And once I remember the names, I'll even give them a plug because I don't care. It's enough people out there to get views, and we could all get views together. But there's some more FSU channels popping up, so you guys go check those guys out. Just scan YouTube, man. I'm telling you, you'll find them because that's how I found them. I just forgot the names. But as always, man, it's your boy Polk over here on 863 Seminole TV. Stay classy, and it's a new year. New year, you got some new players. Hopefully we don't get the same Seminoles. I feel pretty good, but it's January. Let's see how spring and all summer and all that plays out. But you guys have a safe and happy New Year's. If you're still celebrating, man, celebrate safely. And I will catch. I don't know when my next video will be because when I get back, my schedule gets a little crazy. But I don't know, man. I'll let you guys know the next time I decide to go live. But appreciate everybody who showed up tonight. You guys have a good rest of your night, and go Noles, and we got you, baby.